Well, Coach, you're in Indy. What's the experience like there? Obviously different than past years as far as the NCAA tournament. What's your experience been like so far this week?
I've enjoyed it. It's certainly different. I think I said this yesterday. You don't feel the level of energy around the city, with people everywhere, like you do in normal years or have done in normal years. But it's also much earlier in the week than you normally would get here, right? And so I think some of that will pick up as the week goes along, because I do think that they're expecting fans at most of the venues. And so obviously it's a different experience for everybody who's been here before, but it's been just fine. We've enjoyed it. Our guys have been able to get some rest, which I think will be a benefit for us long term. And we're excited to be here.
Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit, saying the guys being excited to be there. What's the mindset of the fellows?
I haven't spent a whole lot of time with them yet, to be perfectly honest. I think we cleared quarantine at about 6:30 yesterday evening, and so we're able to get out of our rooms and actually kind of go shoot around. I just kind of wanted the guys to get out and move around a little bit. So they seem to be in good spirits, excited, and looking forward to today. I think we get a chance to actually go practice.
All right, members of the media, if you have a question for Oklahoma State head coach Mike Boynton, please click raise hand. We'll do our best to try and get to everybody. We may have to limit follow-ups, though, some to be able to accomplish that today because of the large numbers. So our first question is going to come from Jacob Unruh from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Mike, Cade was named AP All-American today, first team selection in school history. We've talked a lot about Cade through this season, obviously, but what does that mean today for you as a coach?
We can talk about him for a few more weeks. I'm okay with that. It means a lot. Like I said before, I've been on this journey with this kid since he was 14 years old, and to now see kind of all these things that I thought were possible, and then we kind of talked about as a vision for him being here over the last few years, a lot of those things coming into fruition. Being first team all league, being the player of the year in the conference, the freshman of the year in the conference. I think elevating himself to being a clear and consensus number one pick. Again, I'm sure there'll be a little bit debate, but it really should be a pretty short debate. This one's pretty clear. And then I think culminating in today, the announcement of him being one of the 5 best players in the country, and maybe some national player of the year recognition here over the next couple of weeks is awesome. I'm happy for him, certainly happy for our program. I think the thing that makes it unique is Cade will want to deflect a lot of that focus onto his teammates and our staff. And those guys have been awesome for each other. And it's part of the reason that this season has been so great for us, because everybody's coalesced behind the idea of doing this all together.
I'm kind of writing about the women in his life and how they've prepared him for this moment. Riley's part of that. How much has he grown since Riley, and how much has he prepared for this moment by Riley and his mom and his sister and people like that?
Yeah, Riley's a big part of the story, because obviously having that element in his life creates a different level of urgency and responsibility, and he's been tremendous. I think one of the things that he appreciated is just he didn't have to hide from it while here, and he was embraced and supported, and we enjoyed when she has been around a few times that she has, and certainly his mom started all this. I have an unbelievable relationship with Keith and with Cannon, obviously, but none of this happens without the blessings of Cade Cunningham, and she's been sensational. His sister is a tremendous support as well. And they just have a great family, and I'm glad that I've been able to be a part of this with them.
You think he's ready for this spotlight because of them?
Ready for this? Which one? I mean,
it's about to grow even more here at this tournament.
Yeah, I do. I think pretty simply, yes, he's ready.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Mike, looking at Liberty, they don't turn the ball over much, and turnovers have been a concern for you guys at parts of the season. How much of that, is a concern for you?
It's not that much of a concern. The part that they don't turn it over as much. I think they're really good, first of all, and they're extremely efficient with the super low possession. And what we got to do is we can't get overly concerned about their lack of turnovers and not try to continue to push the tempo. Um, I don't want to have a ton of turnovers, but I don't want our guys to play super conservative, worrying about it. And so we got to be really cognizant that we try to impose our tempo onto this game and what'll be certainly a contrast of styles.
I mean, with a team, you got a young roster, but you guys have been put in situations, constant situations where you guys close games, last couple seconds, last couple minutes, that even some veteran teams may not have been in that many situations. So do you feel like you guys have the maturity for you guys is expedited in that way versus a typical young team going into this tournament?
I think that's fair. I mean, I think we played 16 games that were decided by 5 points or less or in overtime. We're 4-0 in overtime games, and we won 11 of those 16 games overall. And usually, that record is flipped with a young team, right? If you win 5 of them and you're playing that many close games with a young team, you just hope that they learn it for the next year. But this team has shown that they can figure it out in these moments, and that they understand what it takes, no matter what the situation is, to come out successful.
Thank you, Mike.
Our next question comes from Matt Shianidi from TSN out of Canada. Go ahead, Matt.
Coach, building off that point about what your team has dealt with, how have you seen Matthew Alexander Moncrief grow throughout the season? And what does it show you about how he might react during the tournament?
Yeah, I've been incredibly proud of Matthew. We obviously knew he was really talented, and not a ton of people here in the States knew how good he was. But we also knew with the expectations around Cade that he may be overshadowed a little bit, and we're a little concerned about how he would handle that, because he was the guy where he was coming from. But he's been sensational in accepting his part of this team having success, and it was probably a little different than what he expected. But he's been good. He's been really good. He's fought through some injuries, had to learn how to fight through not being 100% all the time. And he's grown this year. He's become a better player. He's a sensational teammate. And he's a big part of the reason why we are where we are, because, there's been some games where, Cade didn't play his best, where Matthew showed that, there's a bright future with him returning here as a sophomore and some of the other guys.
Our next question comes from Adam Zagoria. Go ahead, Adam.
Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Congrats on all your success.
Thanks.
I'm just doing something on Kevin Boyle and Montverde. He's got a whole bunch of guys in this tournament, including Cade and Moses Moody and a bunch of guys. Obviously, they were talented when they got to Montverde, but how do you think Kevin kind of coached them up and prepared them in his 1 year there? And I guess when you were at Montverde watching Cade, was there anything that really surprised you or impressed you about what Kevin was doing?
Well, I've been impressed by Kevin Boyle since I was in high school. I played against his St. Patrick's teams when they had Al Harrington and Jerome Holman and Sam Dallenberg. So I've been really aware of his ability as a coach for a long time. So I'm not surprised. I've obviously followed this deal for a long time, and he's been able to figure out ways to, because those guys all played together. So he's been having these super teams with great talented players for 20 years plus. And it's just that he's getting more attention for it now. And last year's team obviously was probably, I would guess the most overall talent he's ever had, right? Because you not only talk about the guys you mentioned, but there's a guy starting at Michigan. I think there's a guy that's starting at North Carolina. They got 3 or 4 other juniors now that were on that team that are going to Power 5 schools again. And he's a terrific coach. I think he strikes a great balance in knowing how to manage that level of talent and getting those guys to buy into winning. Because again, they were undefeated last year before the season ended, and he went right up to the championship game the year before that when Cade was a junior. So He's well respected by these kids, and that's why they continue to want to go play for him.
I think Cade would be his 7th #1 draft pick top 3 draft pick since 2011 with Kyrie, Embiid, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Would that kind of be fit? Ben Simmons. What would that say if that happens? Which it probably will.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll continue to write his story as one of the all-time great high school coaches ever. Because it's one thing to have the talent. It's another thing to develop and get those kids to believe and then get them to buy into each other enough to go out and have success together. And I think Kevin Boyle is certainly on the list of the best high school coaches ever. And I'm certainly glad to know him and have had the opportunity to recruit one of the kids out of his program. I don't know if I'm crossing any lines here, but I'm going to say I wish I could continue to recruit his program pretty strongly.
Thanks, Mike. Good luck.
Our next question comes from Barry Trammell. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Mike, there's a difference between being the potential #1 pick because of great potential and a guy that is a great player already. Cade certainly seems to be the latter. Do you see that in him? And can he elevate his game even more? I'm thinking Carmelo Anthony in 2003 as a freshman, that kind of thing. Can he elevate his game even more in this tournament?
Yeah, I think Cade's got still room to grow. And I've always talked about it from a long-term standpoint in terms of what I think his NBA potential is. But I think he's got a chance to get better. I think he can get better Friday. And certainly if we're fortunate and win, then he can get better Sunday. And part of it is because he embraces that mentality. He watches as much film as anybody on our roster. He spends as much time in the gym as anybody on our team. It was kind of optional yesterday just to kind of give the guys an opportunity to get out of their rooms and go shoot. I mean, I thought he might have wanted to get a little bit of rest because we're going to practice here today and tomorrow and Thursday. And he was the first guy with his hand raised that wanted to go to the gym. He just loves the game. He embraces the process of improvement. And I do think that he'll get better over the next couple of weeks. But I think we're not going to see his best basketball here until probably he learns how to adjust to the NBA level, because I really believe that his ultimate future is as an NBA All-Star.
Yeah. What about the idea that he can pick up a team and take it as far as it's possible to go? You were in college when Carmelo did that with Syracuse. Is that the kind of player he is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to carry us to a national championship. I think that's what you're asking, but I think we have a team that can beat anybody in the field. And certainly there are a lot of factors that go into each game, but I'll say this, there's not anybody that we could play that I wouldn't go into the game thinking I have the best player in the game.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Callie Kaplan from the Dallas Morning News. Go ahead, Callie.
Hey, Mike. I'm curious to go off of that idea with Cade. What stories or examples stand out in terms of how you've seen him, kind of be grace under pressure and kind of let the expectations from the outside roll off his back? What memories come to mind when you think about those instances?
There's been several moments. They all haven't been the most glamorous, but I'll share a couple that have been really good. If you followed us, we played the Big 12, and there was some talk about how aggressive he was being early in the year and whether he was really the guy. Obviously, I never bought into that because I watched him practice every day. But we go to K-State, and we win the game. K-State wasn't having a great year, and Cade takes, 3 shots, right? I think scored 1 basket in like the last 4 minutes of the game. And, is Cade really being aggressive enough for you guys? How good can you be if he's not going to play better? Well, we're playing Kansas on national TV the next game. And just his awareness of the situation, he takes the first 5 shots of the game and obviously leads us in many ways to a win. But a lot of his things go unnoticed because they don't always involve him having the ball in his hands and making the shot. As much as was talked about his shot against Wichita State, which was the game winner, his defensive possession, the possession before, was just as important. His defensive awareness against Kansas to block a shot, save the ball to a teammate running down the court to get a basket in our game against Kansas at home was huge. And, you know, when he didn't even play against West Virginia, he was as vocal in supporting his teammates, you know, when he knew they needed his presence, you know, not just physically, but certainly emotionally. He was as engaged and excited about their success as anybody we have. So there are things that you just wouldn't notice if you're not really in tune to who he is as a person that really separate him, I think, from most, certainly 19-year-old kids in college.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Mike, this is a little off topic, I guess, but whenever Cade keeps racking up these awards and you guys make the tournament, you know, Jawan Evans keeps popping up as, you know, the last guy to kind of do this. He kind of came in a weird time between coaches. Do you think that he kind of gets the respect that he deserves in the grander OSU lore?
Juwan?
Yeah, Jawan.
You know, I don't know. I'm not sure how much thought I've given to that. Obviously, you know, most people don't probably make the connection. So Juwan Evans grew up in South Carolina, and similar to Cade in some respects, we didn't offer him a scholarship the first day I saw him, but I was in Juwan Evans High School on his first day as a high schooler. So kind of got to think about seeing these kids when they're pretty young. But obviously, I think he's tremendous. He certainly is amongst some of the best players that's ever played in this program. But our program is a really strong program, and I think the transition maybe hurt a little bit for him. And there was the Phil Forte element as well. He played with another great player in our history, and so that maybe had diminished a little bit of his accomplishments. But you know, think about this: he won the Big 12 Freshman of the Year and didn't play half the year. He was hurt. And so, you know, it's not lost on me. I couldn't speak for other people, though.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Our next question comes from Sam Hutchins from the O'Colly. Go ahead, Sam.
Coach, it seems like every day we see awards, typically very prestigious ones, just rolling in for Cade. But at least from what I see, it's not like he seeks out special treatment or attention for those. You know, he really feels just like one of the guys. So kind of reflecting year of coaching him, what can you say about his ego or lack thereof, I guess would be a better way of putting it?
Yeah, I've said it multiple times. I think that's the thing that makes him great. Is he's aware, he knows these things are going on, but he's not so self-absorbed that he needs to talk about it himself. He's kind of a throwback in that regard, you know, a Barry Sanders that he respects the process of the work. He understands, but he expects these things because he feels like he's put the work in to be in this conversation. You know, Cade expects to be the #1 pick. He's not going to talk about it, man, you know, but he believes he's the best guy. He just allows his work to do the talking for him. And the other thing I think that helps is he's brought so much credibility in our locker room. And it's what has made this thing work is because he hasn't sought out that attention. He's been one of the guys. And so our guys are actually so excited for him. They actually want him to show more emotion about this stuff because they're excited for him. But he's also excited for them that they're doing this with him. And I think that's what's really made this team in this season, you know, that much more special because everyone's bought into each other.
Was there ever a fear of maybe disrupting anything that you had in previous teams, like I guess the last year's team, by bringing in a guy like Cade who would become, you know, a huge part of the team as a freshman? That might be a ludicrous question, but was there ever kind of a thought that, you know, you might disrupt something that you had?
No, it's a very legitimate question. It was one of the things I just didn't know. I'd watched him, I'd known him, but I hadn't had my hands on him. I hadn't been in charge of disciplining him or challenging him in the way that I was going to need to this year. But we had honest conversations with our team of guys who were returning last year. And I was very honest with them. I told them, hey, they knew who Cade was. Most of them, a lot of them from the area or seen him in high school. And I said, listen, this guy's really good, okay? And we have to understand he's going to get a lot of attention, and that's okay. It doesn't diminish anything anyone else does. You know, I say it this way: Cade eating doesn't make everyone else starve. In fact, the more that Cade can bring to us, the more everyone has available to him, and vice versa. Cade I had to have a conversation with him. You have to embrace your teammates. You have to allow these guys to help you learn the things that you don't know about college basketball. Maybe not about a pick and roll, but about how K-State is going to guard you, about how Iowa State may try to attack you. And Isaac Likely and Avery Anderson, the Boones, they've all done a really good job of helping him while he's helping elevate their abilities on the court.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Damian Sordelet, who covers Liberty for the News Advance out of Lynchburg. Go ahead, Damian.
Good afternoon, Mike. Richie McKay earlier this week spoke about the social injustice initiatives that the two of you are a part of, and that he has a strong respect and friendship for you from afar, even though you guys have only spoken on the phone a couple of times. Can you speak to the relationship that the two of you had and the importance of two of the more prominent of the 13 African-American coaches in major college basketball working to create change on a national landscape?
Yeah, I've admired and have had an unbelievable amount of respect for Richard McKay for a long time. So I worked in the Big South at Coastal Carolina. It was my first full-time job. So I've been in Lynchburg. I know the great love for basketball that they had there. And I followed Coach McKay's career. And I think he's been successful in a lot of places. But more than his wins is the way he goes about his business. He treats people the right way. He works his butt off. He recruits high character kids, and he has success. So he knows that this thing isn't a one or the other. And obviously, he's built that program up now with the expectation is that they have success. The other stuff is equally important because we have an obligation to each other to support so that other people have opportunities. Somebody asked me the other day, I don't like that we're playing each other because someone's going to be out of the event, right? And there's be one less African-American coach. I think there's only like 13 black coaches in the event, I think 12 or 13. Well, we're playing them and Cleveland State's playing Houston. So two of the coaches are going to be gone by like Sunday. And then I think if Georgetown and Florida State both win, they'll play each other. So there'll be another one gone. And you know, what we have to do is continue to help other coaches know how to operate within this business. That we support each other, but we compete at a high level when we step on the court. But we let other young guys know who may be coming up. This is how you walk in this profession. These are the things that you look out for. And he's been a great supporter of me, and I've admired what he's done. And I'm also very, very happy for all his success. He knows players. He can coach. It's not lost on me that Seth Curry, Steph's brother, was in Lynchburg before he went to Durham. And it was because of Coach McKay's recruiting and his ability to identify talent and develop guys.
He mentioned earlier this year, and I asked him about this after the deaths of John Thompson and John Chaney, that their legacy coming to light is and how they opened doors back in the 80s for African-American coaches. Do you feel like their legacy, even in their death, is now resonating more because of the movements and the numbers that are now showing up in major college basketball?
I think so. And I think part of it is what you're seeing now is you're seeing people have courage again and not be afraid to stand up for what they believe in, which is exactly what Coach Thompson and Coach Chaney did in their time. I call them the civil rights leaders of coaching. And so those guys set an example for us. And we have this movement going on. It makes it incumbent upon guys like myself, Coach McKay, Quanzo Martin, Shaka Smart, that we stand up and have courage to say, hey, when we see things we don't think is right, that it's not right, and that we're comfortable taking whatever criticism may come our way. We know we live in a very polarized country in a lot of respects right now, but you got to stand on principle. Those guys were the best example that we've had.
And last one from me, back to basketball. And, Frank alluded to the turnovers. Liberty doesn't turn the ball over a lot, but defensively, number 3 in the nation in scoring defense. And they put up some good performances against some Power 5 teams earlier this year. What have you seen in preparation about Liberty's defense and what a guy like Elijah Cuffey might be able to do guarding Cade Cunningham?
Well, I mean, I already don't sleep much. I've slept a little less here in the last probably 3 days since finding out that's who we're going to play. Because I know with a young team like mine, it's easy for the guys to get caught up in the name. Our guys don't follow the Atlantic Sun basketball, right? I'm not sure their guys follow Big 12 basketball, but at least there's a recognition and acceptance. And then you look at the C's and everyone says, all right, chalk here. Let's move Oklahoma State on in the event. Well, I know it's going to be a fight, and I know they're going to make it really hard on us to get good shots. They're going to try to limit us to one shot as much as possible, and they're not going to foul us. They don't foul, they don't turn it over, and they're highly efficient. And so we've got to do a really good job of being disciplined in our assignments and not allowing Liberty to totally dictate the tempo of the game, which I think will be a critical factor in how this game comes out.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, our final question for Mike Boynton is going to come from Lucas Weiss from the Undefeated. Go ahead, Lucas.
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this. You mentioned earlier how you've been on this journey with Cade since he's been 14 years old. I'm just curious what you remember of Cade as a 14-year-old and what stands out to you from those early games watching him.
Just an unusual level of maturity when he was a freshman in high school. It was the thing that stuck out to me the most. The way he communicated was, different from a guy. I didn't ever talk to many 14-year-olds, right? There's not that many guys that stick out to me. I feel like I want to have a conversation with, but any of them that I didn't speak like he did, didn't show the appreciation for, the opportunity to be recruited and the understanding of the totality of this experience. And a lot of it probably has to do with the background of his family. His brother, who's probably his best friend, is somebody who lived this life as a college basketball player. His dad played college sports. His whole family are big into athletics. So I think he had an advantage from a foundational standpoint. And then when you watched him play, he never got rattled. I think he fouled out like 3 games when I watched him play his freshman year, and I just didn't understand how he couldn't stay on the court. But I watched him get better. I watched him add something different to his game every year. And that's a sign of a guy that's pretty intentional about what he's trying to do with his career. So I'm glad that this thing culminated the way I hoped it would. I'm appreciative. I don't know if I tell him enough, but I try to tell him as often as I can how much I appreciate him. And I look forward to seeing how we finish this last couple of weeks, because it's been fun so far, but I know this event can make it that much more fun as we finish out the season.
Well, Coach, I'll do it for questions. Is there anything important to you that you would want to share with the group, just kind of while we've got everybody here?
No, I mean, I'll say this, because I know there's kind of a little bit of a need for people to feel like they have to express some disappointments. We've enjoyed this. So I want to give a shout out to Dan Gavitt and his team. I'm sure there's a massive team of people here that are working behind the scenes to make all this stuff work. Is it like ideal? No, there are things that we all would like to have a little bit more convenient, but we have an opportunity to play in what I think is the best event in sports. And our guys are excited and looking forward to the opportunity to continue to be a part of it. So thanks to him for all the people who've coordinated this, the meals, the quarantine, the testing, and I can't wait till Friday.
Coach, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
What's going on? How you doing?
Doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you good.
All right. So here's where I would congratulate you on AP All-American and all that kind of stuff, but I suspect that that's not really what you're in it for.
Yeah, it's great for sure, but it's March Madness now, so I kind of got other focuses right now for sure.
I will say this, though. Is it somewhat of like a landmark, though, for you and kind of a reflection of teammates and some of those things, just kind of something to check off the box almost?
Yeah, definitely. First team All-American, I mean, that's something that was on my personal goals going into college, but I mean, it's really more like a credit to like you said, my teammates and my coaches, because, I mean, those are the ones that made it happen. So, yeah, it's a blessing for sure, but there's other things that I'm worried about at this point. So appreciate Associated Press and all that.
Well, what's the biggest thing for you now at this point?
Winning games. They set the schedule out. We know what we're gonna have to see, and yeah, winning against Liberty right now. That's the biggest focus right now.
All right, members of the media, if you have a question for Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham, please click raise hand. We'll do our best to try and get to everybody. Not sure if we'll be able to off time restraints, but we're going to do our best. So our first question is going to come from Jacob Unruh from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, how's it going today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, good. Hey, I want to step away from basketball for a little bit. Tell me about Riley and what she means to you.
Yeah, she's everything. She's just, I don't know, she's like a bundle of happiness in a 2-year-old body. I mean, it's not enough words, really. That's my daughter. She's, you know what I'm saying? She's everything right now. She's my motivation, all that and more.
How much, you were obviously in high school when she was born. How much did that change you? How much did that impact your life?
I mean, I think, for anybody that's having their first child, like, I think it's kind of like scary. I was young. I was in high school. It was a bunch of different things, but I think, just switching that to motivation, like I have to make this work. I have to, do the best in whatever I'm pursuing for her. It changed the way I looked at life for sure. And I think, that kind of made me a little bit more mature and made me lock in a little bit more. So yeah, to be at this point right now, I'm excited, for her, really. I can't wait to spoil her with all this. So yeah.
Does this maybe have you prepared more for a spotlight situation? Like basketball isn't everything now that you have Riley and other things that are, probably more important than basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always prepare myself for the spotlight just because I always wanted to be that guy. I always told my brother, like, I think the best way that I did it was, imitating what that guy would look like in my head, being the top guy since I was a little kid, even, when I faced adversity or anything. I always told myself, like, what would the top player in the world do? What would the top guy in the world, you know what I'm saying? And I think, even through tough times, whenever it's not fun and, the spotlight's not on you, and, times are hard and there's nobody else to pick you up, I feel like continuously reminding myself of that, it kind of helped me eventually become that guy. And so now, I feel like I'm kind of ready for that spotlight.
I know I haven't really asked you about your mom before, but what kind of influence has your mom been on you and everything?
Yeah, she's my rock. She's like her and my dad, they're both just somebody that I know I can lean on. If anything goes wrong, I know they'll love me regardless. I know they'll support me regardless. So, to have somebody like that, it's a blessing for sure. Have both parents in the picture for me is a blessing. Too, that, try to make every game they can, try to, bring all the rest of the family if they can, just having that is huge. Somebody I can always talk to. So, yeah,
And last one for me, real quick. I know Kaylin was talking about some of the ways you used to kind of go at her as a kid with milk jugs and dustpans and of dirt and stuff.
Milk jugs and dustpan stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my dog. My sister, man. She's one of my best friends. After hearing those stories, I'm sure, it sounded like me and her were always best friends. But yeah, we used to compete like crazy. Cannon was a little bit older than us, so he left the house. He went to college and everything, so it was just me and her. And I think that's when we got super close. But when Cannon was in the house too, we were always competing over everything. So, but yeah, she's another one that I can always talk to. I know it love me regardless, and I can just I can talk to you about the things that are going on in my head that nobody else is really checking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Caden. I understand the first-time father thing. You got a 4-month-old, almost 5-month-old. So
yeah, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, our next question comes from Damian Sordelet, who covers Liberty for the News Advance. Go ahead, Damian.
Cade, you mentioned in your opening how the focus is on basketball and getting prepared for Liberty. What challenges are the Flames going to present for you guys with how well they play defense and how well they shoot the ball and the infrequency with which they turn the ball over?
Yeah, I mean, they're a really good team. They probably got underseeded. I turned on their championship game the other day, and it was crazy because we got them, picked to match up against us. But yeah, I mean, they play at a slow pace, but they're really intentional on, playing the right way, making the right plays and things like that. So, that's one of those teams where you have to start the game off well because, getting a lead back against them will probably take 2-3 minutes. And, they'll dictate the pace. So, it's kind of have to start off well, make them play catch up. And we have to be on our A game for sure. They're a really good team.
I know differences of high major versus mid major, but have you faced a team that plays defense that can compare to what Liberty's going to throw at you Friday?
I mean, yeah, we just went through the Big 12, so I mean, we're pretty confident against any defense, but we know that they're going to get at it, get after it. And yeah, I mean, it's the Big 12, or this is March Madness, so 40 minutes of basketball, that's all it is to advance. So anything can happen in 40 minutes, and you can't go into any game feeling like you're already prepared and you have this game in the bag, because 40 minutes, I mean, we see it every year.
Thank you, Cade.
Yeah.
Our next question is going to come from Zachary Brasiller from the New York Post. Go ahead, Zachary.
Hey, Cade, I appreciate giving us the time.
Sure.
We've seen in recent years, the elite prospects pass on the big schools, pass on the Duke or the Kentucky or the Kansas, and the guys struggle, whether it's Anthony Edwards or Ben Simmons. You were different, obviously. You lifted your team this year. What do you think? Why do you think you were different?
Because I hate to lose. I mean, I know Oklahoma State didn't have the year that they're the most proud of last year, but my brother always told me whenever he got hired to Oklahoma State, he said, he didn't recruit me for the longest. He didn't say anything about Oklahoma State until probably a couple months before it was time to make the decision. And he did that because he just said, I'm not going to recruit you to a school I don't think is ready for you. So he gave it a long analysis. He checked on it through and through for months and months. And eventually he told me, like, yeah, I think this is a place where you come in and succeed. And that was just because of the groundwork that Coach Mike had already laid. He told me how much, the players wanted to win, how much the staff wanted to win, and were ready to win. But, there were just different things that were going against them, and it wasn't ready to happen yet. So I came in with a different confidence. I knew I could come in and help. Rondell and May, we felt like we had a good freshman class coming in. And yeah, I was ready to put it all together. And I think, just the way that we gelled as a team and things like that, we were bound to win.
To follow up real quick, Kate, when you start the year with not thinking you can play in the NCAA tournament, how do you think that impacted you guys at all? Do you think that it maybe took pressure off you guys, or?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I knew that if we did what we had to do in all the regular season games, I know how this works. They were going to put us in. So, we had that chip on our shoulder. Like, every game we're trying to prove something. And I think, the way that we approach each game, our competitiveness in each game, I feel like, that was something that regardless, obviously with the band, we feel like the school didn't do anything wrong. They handled it well. But, it was put in place, and we knew that if we proved every game that, we belonged, then they'll put us in.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Barry Tremmel from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Cade. A lot of people say you'll be the number one overall pick. There's two different things going on there. A lot of number one picks are picked on potential and what somebody thinks they can do 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Some number one picks are a little bit more special and are great players right now. You appear to be in that category. What can that mean for the next couple, 3 weeks and OSU's run through the NCAA tournament? The fact that not only do they have you're not just a great prospect, but you're also a great player that's leading this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident in my game, but I know that I have players around me that want to win just as bad as me. And we all bring something different to the table, you know, to help produce for the team. And, you know, I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. I'm glad that I could come in and help us win this many games to get to this point. But like I said, it was a team effort. You know, everybody was ready to win. And I think everybody kind of elevated themselves, you know, for this moment. So, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I think being the time, you know, this is Isaac's first time being in the tournament. I know how excited he is for this. So, you know, I think everybody's gonna step up. And yeah, I appreciate all the compliments for sure.
Are you a student of college basketball history? I mean, like, do you know about Carmelo Anthony's freshman year?
Yeah,
Beating Syracuse.
It was crazy. I've been saying, you know, I wanted to have a Melo type year since I got here. It's crazy everybody's saying it now, but and especially how everybody was talking about it whenever I came into Oklahoma State. Nobody thought we'd be at this point. So, no, it's always funny how they switch their opinions whenever they see it in person. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I know Melo's big shoes to fill, but I'm up for the challenge for sure.
Thanks, Cade.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Callie Kaplan from the Dallas Morning News. Go ahead, Callie.
Hey, Cade. I'm curious, growing up in the Dallas area, memories of either watching the NCAA tournament or what you thought or, you know, what you dreamed of about being in this moment that you're finally in.
My best memory. So this is a crazy story. My best memory. My best friend is Paxton Anderson, one of my best friends. And he got to have me and him be ball boys at the 216 game, Michigan versus Kansas, when Trey Burke hit the three. And I'm right under the goal where he hits the three. And it was just like one of the craziest moments of my life. But yeah, that was probably my best March Madness experience. But yeah, I've been watching the games for forever. My parents, we would all fill out brackets and you know, bet on them, like who gets the most points from the bracket. We would have all those things going on. So yeah, I love March Madness for sure.
Was there any, I guess, moments where you envisioned, or what do you remember thinking that this moment that you're finally in would be like? I'm sure it was without a pandemic going on, but what did you picture that, you know, the lead up and this opportunity would feel like?
I mean, you can feel certain ways about how you think it would be, but once you're actually there, it's still surreal. You know, just landing in Indianapolis and then seeing all the March Madness stuff was crazy. Like, you know, we're finally in the building, we're finally here. So it's exciting. It's super exciting. I've you know, been envisioning myself winning games and, you know, hitting game winners and things like that, pulling off upsets or whatever. But yeah, now that I'm here, I'm excited. I'm ready to see what I can do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Adam Zagoria. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Cade, congrats on all your success, man.
Thank you.
I know you said earlier that you felt like if you guys took care of business, you would make the NCAA tournament. When you reaffirmed your commitment in June, you know, were you concerned at all? Did you think it was a long shot that Oklahoma State could play in the tournament, or did Mike and the coaching staff kind of lead you to believe you guys would have a chance to make it?
Like I said, I thought Oklahoma State handled, you know, the sanctions very well. I didn't think that, you know, the school deserved what we got, but Coach Mike was super honest about everything. He said, you know, they said we're not going to play, so as of right now, we're not going to play. But you know, he just laid everything out on the line for me. And by that time, I knew who I wanted to be around. I knew who I wanted to, you know, practice every day with. And I think those are the main things. Like, I just wanted to be around people that were going to make me a better person, a better player. So by that time, you know, I was already locked into being a part of this program. So that's why I chose to stay with it.
And I know you mentioned your daughter before and how much of an inspiration she is. Did that factor into your decision to commit to Oklahoma State at all? Kind of stay near family and be near her? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was away at Montverde, you know, whenever she was born and everything like that. So finally being able to be, you know, a little bit closer definitely helped. I mean, regardless, I know my parents would have did whatever it took to, you know, close that gap for me. But yeah, I mean, being a 4-hour drive away isn't too bad for sure. Definitely isn't too bad. And I've been super lucky to have her be able to be at a bunch of games and things like that.
That's great. Where does she stay at, Cade? In Texas or?
Yep, she's in Texas.
Cool. Good luck, man.
Appreciate you.
Our next question comes from Sam Hutchins from the O'Colly. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Cade, I can remember exactly where I was for that KU Michigan game. I can't imagine being under the goal. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Crazy.
I'll switch it up. I want to ask you about your kind of unofficial role as the team barber. I heard that the guys think you're pretty good. First off, I guess, what can you tell me about that, and what makes you kind of want to be the guy that cuts everyone's hair?
Man, it started whenever I was in middle school. I had like 3 of my best friends were all the same age, like next door to each other, all in my same neighborhood. And we were all like, athletes, whatever, but you need that role. Like, we're not trying to pay $20 every time we go get a cut. So I try to pick it up early. Like, I'm gonna just start cutting hair, and then my friend Kennard, man, shout out Kennard, he let me practice on him whenever I wasn't very good. And eventually I built up to now I feel like I'm a real deal barber now. So it made me a lot of money in high school for sure. And now, I'm out in college, and dudes see me, I cut my own hair sometimes, they see all of that. So, they weren't too afraid to get in the chair. But yeah, it's fun. I don't really like doing it too much now. I'm kind of too bougie now. I like being on my own time, but every once in a while I hook my teammates up.
Wasn't it Deion Sanders that said, look good, feel good, play good? Do you kind of ascribe to that philosophy before games?
Nah, for real. I'm 100% with that. I used to cut my hair. What's crazy, I used to edge myself up, cut my hair before every game in high school, like every game. So especially whenever I was back at Arlington. So yeah, it looked good, play good, all that. I'm with it.
Did you bring the Clippers into Indy? I don't know if you have a hotel spot to get your haircut.
Yeah, I know I had them for pretty much every trip. I got just the edges right now. I don't got the faders and all that, but you know what I'm saying? I'll make sure I'm all right though.
I got you. Thank you.
For sure. Appreciate you.
You've got the fresh edges going right now.
Yeah, it's all right. I haven't tested yet, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not too savvy right now.
All right, I noticed. All right, last couple questions. It's Frank Bonner from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Cade, I wanted to ask about, the roster you guys have is, pretty young, and going into this tournament, people at first glance may say, are they ready for this? But in the Big 12, I'm not sure how many teams have had as many close games as you guys have had pulling down the stretch. So how much of that has prepared you guys for potential close games you're going to have in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we're young, but like you said, we're battle tested. And I think, that's what really matters whenever it comes to March Madness, because all these games are going to be battles. Everybody's going to compete. Everybody's going to get their best shot. And, seeing that, we've already took people's best shots and been able to persevere through those. So, yeah, I mean, as long as we're going out there and doing what we're supposed to be doing, playing our game, things like that, I don't think age is really going to matter too much. I know we played a bunch of basketball, and we're all excited for this moment.
And looking at those, countless close situations, individually, how have you seen yourself grow in those moments?
I feel like I've grown a bunch. That was one of the main things that my brother told me going into Oklahoma State was, every game is a battle. Every game is, decided almost within 4 points. So, and he always told me what's crazy is everybody calls me a closer now. What's crazy is he always told me I needed to be better closing games. So coming in, like that was my main focus. Is like, I got to finish games better, And now it's crazy. Everybody says I start off games not good enough. So yeah, there's always something else to work on. But the way the seasons went, we've won plenty of games through adversity, things like that. So I feel like it's gonna help us out a lot, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better in that situation.
I appreciate you, Cade.
Yeah.
And our final question is going to come from Jenny Carlson from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hey, Cade, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good. So you're talking about cutting hair. By the way, I don't let anybody cut my hair. that is not a professional. Sorry, but
Yeah.
it made me think about the trust that it takes to let somebody do that. And it seems like there may be some parallels with the trust on this team. I mean, you guys are there's such a young collection of players, really haven't played together for a long time. How did you see this team evolve in the trust that you guys have put in each other?
Yeah, I think, our togetherness is, I think, what made us start winning games and, just start getting better as a team. Early on, we've been turning the ball over for a while now, but, early on, I just think our togetherness within our offense, even with the staff, like, I don't think we really wanted to trust the plays because, we didn't trust each other as players. So I think, just more off time, more time together, off the court. Maybe the pandemic helped us, honestly, being where these are the only people that you can be around all day and hang out with. I think that might have helped us, but, like you said, our togetherness, I feel like, that's the main thing that's helped us grow as a team. And it's something that now I feel like, we can't really separate from each other now. If you hop in our locker room, it's always laughs. It's always, jokes being thrown around on the planes, everything. Everybody just likes being around each other. And I think, it's hard to lose with a group of guys that, want to win for each other and want to play hard for each other.
Was there a point you felt like you guys turned the corner in that regard? I mean, I think us as outsiders could look at it and see results when you guys sort of hit the accelerator on the wins, late in the year. But was there a time internally that you felt like, hey, I think this group is really starting to come together in a new way?
I'd say probably after the Kansas game is whenever we really flipped the switch. But I think, the main thing with us is that we have a bunch of guys that aren't afraid to call each other out as well. Like if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it'll get spoken of. Like nobody's afraid to, make the room uncomfortable or speak on things that, people don't really want to hear right now. So I think that's the main thing for us. And after the Kansas game, everybody kind of sat down and really talked like, this is it. We're not gonna go down that path where, we break down mentally and kind of give up. I feel like this is when we can turn the switch and, put together some wins and really, I think at the time we were maybe projected to be a 8 seed if we were allowed in or something like that. So, we really wanted to turn it up. We felt like we could beat anybody. And I think that confidence is what helped us do it.
Was it you that sort of started that conversation of, hey, we gotta be accountable, or was that Ice, or who sort of is the catalyst for that?
I'm not gonna say a name on who it was just because I don't want to get it wrong, and then Ice watch this and be like, no, I said that. So I'm not gonna say a name right now, but I know whoever said it first, everybody agreed on that, and from that point on, everybody was locked in. I think that helped us a bunch.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cade, so that'll do it for questions, but I actually have just one last one for you there. Being up in Indy or away from, the Oklahoma State fans, people who have been supporting you all year, do you have just any messages for OSU fans specifically going into the tournament?
I appreciate y'all. It's crazy because in Kansas City, it felt like we were at home almost. They came out, it was crazy. So, just this whole year has been, super fun with them. Through ice and all that, they still came out and tried to show as much support as possible. So, infinite amount of love and respect for them and appreciation for them for sure.
Well, thank you so much. And before we cut you loose, is there anything important that we missed that you wanted to cover while we've got the group together?
Go Pokes.
All right, we appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
Members of the media, thank you as well. We appreciate you as always.